frustrates you? Do you find yourself thinking, if I ruled the world, there wouldn't be plastic in the oceans? Or in the digital age, why must I hunt down a utility bill just to prove where I live? I found this poster online. I actually completely disagree that there is nothing that you can do about frustration. There is always something you can do if you care enough and have the courage to act. My name's Joanna Finlay, and I like to chat to strangers on train journeys. To me, interrogating my fellow passengers is a great opportunity for research. And I've found that most people have plenty of frustrations about the world that someone else needs to fix. But who is this someone? Whose job is it to build a better society? A select few with special authority? Yeah, some people will have the resources and the influence to tackle some of the big problems. But you and me are uniquely placed to improve our corners of the world, to turn frustrations into better futures. If you're thinking, what a dreamer! If she thinks I have time to fix society, she needs to take a train to the real world. Well, please bear with me. I don't believe that we, as time-poor but good-hearted citizens, should have work and family responsibilities over here and making a difference over here in the imaginary time that's left over. I believe that the answer is in how we approach our day jobs. Take a look at this. First, we ask, what must I do to fulfill the responsibilities of my role? What is my employer paying me to do? Some people prefer to ask, what's the least that I can get away with without getting caught, or that I can justify to myself? I think we all know those people. You can choose to ask, whose frustrations can I help to fix within my role, with the skills, experience, and influence that I have? Your day job is not only where you spend most of your time, but probably where you're most qualified to have an impact by turning frustration into action. If you care about the things that let people down and leave people behind, and then have the courage to ask, do I have the skills, experience, and influence to do something about this? And if not, well, who does? Who could I share this with? When I graduated from university, Bill Bryson was the Chancellor, and he shared with us 3 tips for life. The second was this: never moan. No one ever says, we must have Dave and Sally for dinner sometime. They're excellent moaners. And I agree, if all they're going to do is moan, well, Dave and Sally should just shut up. But if they're sharing frustrations to explore what they or someone else could do about them, Dave and Sally could be pioneering a better society, and I'd gladly have them for dinner. Here's the thing. If we simply dismiss others' frustrations, we almost guarantee that opportunities to improve society will be missed. So next time someone's going on a rant, instead of saying, oh, it's not worth getting het up about, how about we say, you're right, it stinks. What can we do about it? I work for Virgin, and one of our core values is the idea that business can and should be a force for good. And I believe that what's good for business is good for society. And the other way round, what's good for society is good for business and can make for a fulfilling career too. We can do whatever we're best at doing and benefit others at the same time. Let me tell you about 2 people who've inspired me recently. Justine White is a breastfeeding advisor in London. She's helped thousands of babies benefit from stronger maternal bonds and stronger immune systems through breastfeeding. That's her job. However, Justine was contacted by one mum whose baby was to be born through surrogacy, but who really wanted to breastfeed her baby herself. And she was frustrated that no one seemed able to help, even though in America, mums in her situation are given drugs that help to promote lactation. Then she met Justine, who was willing to use her experience to advocate for this solution in the UK. She won the support of doctors who could prescribe the drugs and offered to support and monitor the mum when producing milk in this way. Even though it wasn't simple, Justine put herself in this mum's shoes and saw how difficult things had been for her versus how difficult it would be to help. In Justine's words, I simply listened and looked for a way to say, yeah, I can help you. If you had the skills to help someone, why wouldn't you? And it worked. And it's paved the way for other mums and surrogate babies to have a better future too. Marguerite Kerr was a teacher in the 1970s. Her students suffered from serious mental illness, and Marguerite's job was to keep them safe, orderly, and with a basic education. But Marguerite was frustrated that these children were expected to achieve so little in life. First, she introduced baking lessons so that they could make bread and cakes at home with their families. Then she learnt to type and introduced classes in typing too, giving her children a hope of employment. Marguerite was my grandmother, a humble lady who was determined to make a difference in the world. She looked beyond what she was expected to do to help people in her corner of society. Both Justine and Marguerite used their day jobs to create a better future for others. They saw their frustrations of their patients and students and cared enough and had the courage to act. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm sold on this idea that frustration can fuel better futures in midwifery and teaching and other caring professions, but didn't you say that business should be a force for good? Yeah, I did. I said I work for Virgin. I actually work for Virgin Money, which is a bank, and I'm acutely aware from my train research that people have a lot of frustrations with banks. In my work, I found that with the right mindset, I have opportunities to not only do what I'm expected to do, but to challenge the status quo and ultimately to help people. Let me share an example. A couple of years ago, I worked as a product manager for current accounts. Part of my job was to manage a basic bank account, which has no overdraft, no fees, and is suitable for someone with a poor credit history. The trouble is that some of the people who would benefit most from a basic bank account, those who've been homeless, ex-offenders, refugees, have often never even heard of these accounts or can face barriers when trying to apply. So I started asking questions. Who's applying for our basic bank account? Who's not applying? And why? And what I found was quite alarming. In the UK, 1.5 million adults have no bank account. Imagine how frustrating that would be. It wouldn't just be inconvenient, but it would cost you more too, because without direct debits, you would be on a prepay meter for all your utilities, a pay-as-you-go mobile, and you wouldn't have a debit card to shop around online for best value. This poverty premium costs each unbanked person a whopping £1,300 a year. I met with charities that provide accommodation and support to homeless people. Their residents really need a bank account so that they can receive an income, pay rent, and move on in life. But they were frustrated that because they don't have utility bills, because they live at the charity, they couldn't prove their address in order to get a bank account. But what could I do about this? Well, long story short, I developed a process that enables these charities to easily provide what we need to verify their residents' identity and provide what they need, reassurance and a bank account. This solution can only help some of the 1.5 million unbanked people, but it's a start. As an aside, sometimes I'm asked, if you care about poverty so much, well, why don't you go and work for a charity? Here's the thing, at the minute, I believe that I can help most by using my skills and experience to influence change within banking. Society would really suffer if everyone who cares deeply about improving the world stops what they're skilled in doing to try and help elsewhere. We need to build a better future in every sector, every day, one frustration at a time. I'm sure you've heard of the theory of marginal gains. This essentially says that rather than looking for the big idea to radically improve performance, you can look for lots of ways to improve it by 1%, and that all these seemingly small changes can add up to a big impact. What if we apply the theory of marginal gains to improving society? as well as some people using their resources to make a radical difference, what if we all went about our day jobs, caring about others' frustrations and having the courage to act? I just don't think it's logical to expect someone else to fix everything. They can't, because they don't see the world as you do. They don't have the skills and experience that you have. We are uniquely placed to improve our corners of the world, to turn frustrations into better futures. And as anthropologist Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. But why, you ask? Concerning myself with others' frustrations simply doesn't make evolutionary sense. Did Marguerite's students ever repay her? Well, no. But whilst our ancestors may have directly exchanged what they had for what they needed, societies evolved to be more complex. Now we tend to exchange our time and skills for money, and money for the things that we want and need. But I wonder if we've therefore lost a sense that it's still ultimately people that we're exchanging value with, and that not everything needs to be directly repaid. Not everything has a price. Kindness doesn't have a price. In short, I wonder if we've forgotten that we are humankind. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are unique among species because we can seek truth, we can love, we can give and receive from society. In the context of all your ancestors, your life is like the blink of an eye, but the impact of your kindness could be immeasurable. But I take heart from knowing that increasingly colleagues are seeking purpose as well as pay, and that 82% of customers say that when price is equal, they will buy from companies that give back to communities. So what if, instead of businesses doing their business over here and supporting charity over there, what if employers encouraged colleagues to look for marginal gains in society in the roles that they're already paid to do? It's good for colleagues' motivation, it's good for business, and it's good for society. And it needn't be complex. I heard about a brilliant initiative this week called Barber's Talk. Here, barbers are trained to use their everyday conversations with their clients to look out for signs of depression and point men to professional support. They really cared about the male suicide rate in this country. And they're making a difference within their day jobs. And they told me it's good for business too. In closing, I should say that if we spend 50% of our waking hours at work, imagine how society could be transformed if we all look to fix frustrations there. Donating time and donating money are good things. But using work to transform society could be rocket fuel to create a better future. What if tomorrow we started asking at work, whose frustrations can I fix? Like, who's being let down? Who's being left behind? Or how could I reduce plastic waste in the office? Remember, seemingly small changes can add up to a big impact. So, whose frustrations could you help to fix within your role, with the skills and experience and influence that you uniquely have? We can change the world, one frustration at a time. Thank you.